Content today, please join me in remembering, I guess I shouldn't say that, I guess got a little off there, that within every market there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are no operators standing by. I am it.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And of course, we do have a celebration every day on Ron Siegel Radio. We love the idea of doing a little bit of celebrating, enjoying, it's football season's back. We can enjoy that part of it. We have also got Chicken Boys Day today, National Cherry Popover Day, and if you so desire, pink Cadillacs. That is the story of the day as well. Checking the markets, Dow Jones Industrial Average down 78 points. Oil, that is down $1.26 a barrel, which translates into a national gas average 2.223 per gallon. And here in the state of confusion, $2.68.1. We report the 10-year Treasury notes almost every day today, down a little bit at 1.563. And that also easy for me to say, coincides with today's new Freddie Mac mortgage market survey. The rate as of today, 3.46. That's the rate that you're going to pay with a half-point fee, 3.46. Again, half-point fee on that. Last year, this time, it was about a half higher, 3.89 with a little bit higher fee. So we're still seeing it. And that was last year. Last week it was at 3.43. So we're hovering right around the same area. We'll see tomorrow what's going to really happen with the Freddie Mac numbers, with the mortgage numbers, when we see what happens with the employment numbers, the job numbers that come out. The weekly jobless claims, though, those came out today. First-time jobless claims rose 2,000 from last week. This week we had 263,000 people file for unemployment, first-time unemployment claims. Ow! Yeah, not fun. Ironically enough, tomorrow we're going to probably get a jobs report. Somewhere between 170,000 to 280,000 jobs created for the entire month. For the entire month of August. Interesting how that happens. So we get these numbers and people come out and say, oh, that's not too bad, or it's a good number. But you think about it, 261,000 people or 263,000 people for the week losing their job, and we only create 150,000, 200,000 jobs for an entire month. Going the wrong way there, and that's why the number, the U6 number, is so important. They're going to report the numbers tomorrow, as I said, but the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, U6 number is the number that's really of most importance. I will share with you that number is where we see the real unemployment, because that measures unemployment and underemployment. That doesn't worry about the people, because here's the way the numbers are. U3, which is the headline number, says 4.9% unemployment. U6, now 4.9% unemployment means if you got paid 1 hour of work for pay, you're employed. 1 hour of work for pay during the month, that means you're employed. The U6 is unemployed and underemployed, and those people who gave up looking. 9.7%. That is a number that will say, ow! Yeah, not a good number. So that's where we'll be looking tomorrow. We will see volatility in the mortgage market, just the way it is. Institute of Supply Management's gauge of factory activity fell to 49.4 in August from 52.6 in July. Remember, readings above 50 point to expansion. We're at 49.4, so that's called contraction. Getting a little bit smaller, just the way it works right there. Moving right along. Interesting watching the elections going on right now. We are seeing in the election market, or in the election world, Loretta Sanchez, the congressional member, gave up her congressional seat to run for the United States Senate. Having a little bit of challenge there. It probably doesn't look good for her. She's starting to pivot a little bit right now to looking a little more conservative. Yeah, I wonder how she can spin that one. It'll be kind of fun to watch her try and spin a little more conservative, because here in the state of confusion, the way our state legislature gerrymandered, rigged the system, we get to vote for Democrat number 1 or Democrat number 2. There is no Republican option. There are no other options other than 2 Democrats on the ticket for United States Senate. So Sanchez she might be the lesser of 2 evils. I'm not sure, because when you look at her voting record, yes, I understand that she voted against the Iraq war. I understand that anything that the Republicans want, she votes against. Now she wants to claim she's a little more conservative than she was. And she went on a conservative radio show just recently in the San Diego market. She might be just like the mayor of Anaheim, Rhino. That might be where it is. And I'm just going to say that most of us...
You know better than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bragging about Loretta Sanchez being our best choice. She might be better than the alternatives, but certainly not good. Speaking about certainly not good, amazing. Governor Brown and his Democrat colleagues reached a $1 billion deal on cap and trade funds. What are they going to do with $1 billion? Now, again, that's where your money is coming from. Think about that. Benedict Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's why we are paying in California, where we do some of the refining of oil and gas. We're paying $2.68 a gallon, right near, on average, that's the state average, right near the top of the scale of the most expensive states for gas in the country. I think the only state that's higher than us in California is going to be Hawaii, and obviously they've got a lot of shipping expense because they don't do any refining of the oil over there. Just a thought for you. So the Democrats have come out with an idea of how they're going to spend $1 billion on cap and trade. Now remember, we talk about tax the rich. That's what the Democrats, they're the only thing they ever have to go on is tax the rich. Well, think about that. When you start raising taxes on gasoline, you're not taxing the rich because they don't care. They might have gone out and bought that new Tesla so they don't pay any gas money. They might have gone out and bought that new hybrid or one of the other hybrids so they're not having to worry about these issues. But those of us in the working world, we do have to worry about these issues, and that's who's getting hit by this cap and trade tax that Benedict Arnold Schwarzenegger signed into law, and it looks like now Jerry Brown and the Democrat Assembly and House, our Senate, are looking at that in Sacramento. Amazing, just how they continually look to see how they can blow our money, waste our money, and then they come back and say, we need more money. Well, here's an issue that I'll share with you, and I better be careful because I might be supposed to be talking about this. Yeah, I'm not going to share this right now. I'm going to share in just a couple of minutes with you another issue that's coming up on the market because California is looking to launch retirement accounts without pensions for certain state workers. We're going to chat about that because you know me, I don't believe in the 401k. I don't believe in the IRA. Those are just government ruses to take more of your money. We had Al Manfrey was in yesterday, and he's helping a lot of people get rid of their 401ks, get rid of their IRAs, and showing them a better way to pay less taxes. Now, again, if you like paying the taxes, not a problem. I commend you. We need the money in the state. They're not going to send you a thank you note. But you're more than welcome to pay as much as you want in tax. or you can do things the smart way, minimize your taxes today and minimize your taxes for tomorrow as well. So we'll talk about that as well when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. How is the housing market doing? We'll chat about that as well. And we're also going to spend quite a bit of time today answering your top 10 questions about credit scores. That's a common question mark that comes into Ron Siegel Radio. Remember to reach us anytime. Call our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. On Twitter, @Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
What if your family business could help clothe a less fortunate family? Or your restaurant could feed truly hungry people? What if you could help to comfort the lonely? Plant sustainable resources where nothing has ever grown before? Or make a child's lifelong wish come true? What if all you had to do was simply do nothing more than what your business already does every day? Would you do it? Introducing Processing for a Cause, a unique program that turns a percentage of your business's credit card volume into ongoing donation dollars for nonprofit organizations and foundations. Simply switch your credit card processing provider to Processing for a Cause and begin supporting a worthy cause today. The process is simple, and the cause will change lives forever. Processing for a Cause.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Are you a veteran, police officer, firefighter, doctor, nurse, or teacher? If so, you qualify as one of Ron Siegel's VIP heroes, and we have rewards up to $5,000 or $10,000 when you buy, sell, or refinance a home with one of the Ron Siegel Radio partners. As one of the heroes, real estate agents will rebate part of their commission, lending partners will give a credit at closing, the title company has special published rates, and many other service providers have incentives too. All you need to do is call Ron Siegel Radio at 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit VIPHeroProgram.com. Just think about what you will do with all the rebates and incentives from the partners of Ron Siegel Radio. Just call us at 800-306-1990 so we can show you our appreciation for your service.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. You have a credit report. It is wrong. They all are. What are you doing about it? Credit Sanitizer has the solutions for you. In today's segment, we're going to talk about your top 10 questions coming into Ron Siegel Radio about credit scores. Number 1, what is considered a good credit score? Well, here's the issue on that one. You need to understand that there are many, many credit scores. There are mortgage scores, there are auto scores, credit card scores, there are FICO scores, there are Vantage scores, I think it's Experian Plus scores, all different scores in there. But the only one that matters, because some of them will go as high as a 990 score. The only score that matters is the FICO score, Fair Isaac Corporation. The reason that's the only one that matters, and each individual is going to have you should have 3 of them that are most common. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Some people don't have 3, but most will have 3 of those 3 scores. If you're looking at a mortgage, they're going to always look at the middle score if you have 3, the lowest score if you have 2. Just the way it works. So the FICO score ranges from 300 to 850. You have to remember, it's very, very important. 300 to 850 is a 550-point spread. And we'll talk about why that 550 is important a little bit later on. 680 is considered good. Above 720 is excellent. And think about this, because there are certain programs. The Blue Boys, they have a program. If your score is 740 or above, they've got some extra incentives. Many companies have a 760 or above incentive, 760. Doesn't take a whole lot to get down below those numbers, but that's kind of where the numbers fall. Second question, will paying off debt and closing credit cards help my score? Well, that's a mixed bag is that answer to that question. It's a definite maybe. So it depends. What really drives the answer to that is how much debt do you have? How much debt do you have? We want to keep our credit card debt ideally below a 30% utilization. That's where your best numbers are going to come from. One of the challenges there is a lot of folks will use American Express, and that poses a challenge in many, many instances, because when you go to get a loan, especially a mortgage loan, they look and say, okay, what is your debt to income ratio? And when American Express skews that, because it's not really a credit card, it's a charge card. The difference being the charge card you pay off at the end of the month. If you've been listening to Ron Siegel Radio, you know that you're not supposed to pay off your credit card after you get the statement, after the statement closing date. Ideally, you're going to pay off that, especially American Express, right before the statement closing date. If you pay it off before the statement closing date, you get a better credit score. Just the way it works. So the answer to this, when you pay off a credit card, especially, here's the other part of it, closing credit cards. If it's a credit card you just opened and you close it, not going to hurt your score. Although the opening of the card may have had a little bit of an impact on when we get down to inquiries. But I'll explain that in a minute as well. But here's the idea. Closing a credit card, if it's an old credit card, if you've had it for a long time, closing that credit card in most instances, if it's active, will hurt your credit score. The reason it hurts your credit score is because the bureaus look at the age of your credit. How long have you had the credit cards, the revolving items that are on your report? The longer you have those revolving items, the more it helps your score. They look and they say, well-established individual, we don't have to worry about them in this category. Now, paying off the debt, if you have an old charge-off or an old delinquency and you pay that, even $1, it re-ages it and could hurt your score. So that's why that's a really a tricky question when people ask, will paying off debt and closing cards help my score? If done properly, if consulted properly. I just had a person call and we were chatting about this. I think it was the end of last week we were chatting about the idea of paying off some debt. And they shared that the husband uses credit a lot for work. He has he uses his personal credit card, then he gets an expense account, pays it off. And it brought their credit scores down a little bit. They were the same thing I was just telling you about the American Express card, but this happened to be on a MasterCard or a Visa, I don't remember which. But here's the issue. I shared that exact same scenario with them. Be more prudent about filing the expense report. Get that money back in time so that you can go online about a week before your statement closing date. Just look at the statement, and it'll have a couple of different dates on there. It's going to have a statement closing date, and it's going to have a due date. Never want to be past the due date. That'll cause you a problem. But the statement closing date in this particular scenario, I was told that they pay off their credit card in full every month. But they're doing it between after the statement closing date and before the due date. Well, it sounds well and good. They're not getting any late payments by doing it that way. But what they are doing is the reporting going to the bureau is going in as a high utilization. Because they don't report payments, all they do is they report, the credit cards, report at the statement closing date. So you want to go online right about a week before your statement closing date, find out what your balance is, make as much of a payment as you can. If you pay it off in full, pay it so that it gets there before the statement closing date. That way you get the full value of that payment. When your statement comes out, you've got the lowest possible balance, and it's going to help your credit score. Could be as much as 10, 15, 20 points. I've seen even more than that. If done strategically, sometimes we had a person or a listener we consulted with recently. It brought their scores up 50 points by when they paid their bill. They just had to send in some money and get their scores redone. A great mortgage team can help you with that. They say go and get make this payment here. Strategically make payments. If you've got a few $1,000s, make these payments strategically to these cards, these amounts, and then they can get a new credit report, and it can help you out in that way. There's ways of doing that the right way and the wrong way, so we'll show you how to do that. But that's a tricky question. A lot to it. And if you have specific questions, feel free to call me anytime. 800-306-1990. Question number 3. I've had my credit pulled several times while shopping for a loan. Will that hurt my score? Well, the credit bureaus understand that you'll want to shop around for the best mortgage or auto loan or credit card, and that means your credit will be pulled several times. Good news, they usually just count this group or batch of inquiries as if they're only within a 30-day period, they count them as one pull, one hard inquiry. There's a difference between a hard inquiry, which is when somebody pulls your credit with your authorization for a new credit instrument, mortgage, car, credit card, whatever. But remember I was sharing with you earlier that the spread is important. It's a 300 to 850 spread for your FICO score, 550 points there. If you have the inquiries, which is what this is, pulling credit inquiries, that counts for about 10% of your score, 55 points maximum. So if you had an 850 and it went down 55 points to 795, not hurting you at all. And it takes a lot of work to get that full 55 taken off. There's generally other things going on when somebody's pulling their credit a lot of times, and you're trying to figure out what the issue is right there. So credit pulls, you don't want to have. Now, I just shared with you that if it's within the same industry, mortgage, a number being pulled for mortgages, or a number of times being pulled for auto loans, those don't hurt your score. But if you go to Lowe's, and then you go to Home Depot, and then you go to Walmart, and then you go to Target, those are all different inquiries. That will have an effect on your score. The other thing is, here's another question, and I don't think we're going to get to this one today, but I'll share it with you real quick. If you already have an American Express card, if you already have a Visa card, a MasterCard, they, in their fine print of their disclosures, note that they have the right to check your credit whenever they wish. That's called a soft inquiry. That's not a hard inquiry. So they can look at your credit scores and see if any significant changes have taken place. And that's what they use to look at, say, am I going to extend a higher credit limit or am I going to reduce their credit limit? Just a thought right there. We're going to continue on with answering your 10 top questions about credit scores when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. The housing market, is it doing well? Yes or no? We'll chat about it when we come back. California, they're going to launch retirement accounts for workers without pensions. Is that a good idea? Is it going to help the California workers? We'll chat about that as well. Remember, you can reach us anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, on Twitter, @Ron Siegel. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But you can get us, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you purchasing or own a luxury home? If you're like so many others, your home is your largest asset and the mortgage is your largest debt. The Siegel lending team has some amazing financing opportunities right now. Jumbo loans up to $2 million, 30-year rates below 4%, 15-year rates near 3.5%, and if you can believe it, 7-year interest-only hybrids in low 3s. The Siegel lending team has all the options for your jumbo or second home loan requirements. Take advantage of them while you can. To learn more about all the other financing products available from the Siegel lending team, call 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Again, call 1-800-306-1990. Rates subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready to overcome your biggest blocks with money and time? Your solution, Big Profits Now World Summit. The best skills and strategies to double and triple your business profits without doubling or tripling the work. This summit has gathered 24 experts specializing in business growth. It's a free online event that's happening now. Go immediately to claim your free ticket at BigProfitsNowLive.com. Enter your name and email and receive these free video interviews directly to your inbox. Again, that's BigProfitsNowLive.com.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel lending team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel lending team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694552.
37% of American homeowners believe they have over 20% equity in their homes. Fannie Mae tells us 69% of American homeowners have over 20% equity in their homes. Fully 1 in 3 American homeowners are not informed about the amount of equity they have in their homes. Are you one of them? How might this be holding you back from achieving your goals? Text RSR CMA to 79564 to get a property valuation from one of the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Again, to know how much your home is really worth, simply text RSR CMA to 79564.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio, or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Text PAIR, PEAR, Professional Equity Analysis Review to 79564. And one of the area trusted real estate professionals will reach out to you to get you the true equity position of your home. Equity position is not always the same as the value of your home. So think about that one. And as we shared yesterday with Al Manfrey, you want to make sure you get as much of the equity out of your home as possible, especially in a low interest rate environment, because all you're dealing with at that point is something called arbitrage. And you're looking at how much money can you make on your money as well as how much money you can make on your own back. couple of articles came out recently talking about how is the housing market doing. And there are some that think housing affordability is a challenge. Historically, that's not true. Others think that home prices are approaching bubble values. So if we look back over the last 16 years, that is also not the case. As a matter of fact, the numbers show that the U.S. residential real estate market is doing just fine, thank you. A couple of articles and excerpts that make this point. The housing market is finally starting to look healthy, was the commentary from the New York Times, and I'll quote, "It has been excruciatingly long time coming, but the housing sector in the United States is finally getting healthy. Thank millennials and thank home builders who are starting to produce more of the starter houses young people demand," unquote. Why the U.S. housing market is good and getting even better? According to TheStreet.com, interest rates are so low now that a family can buy the median-priced U.S. home on income of less than $45,000 a year, about $111,000 less than the median household income. And half of America's houses are cheaper than that. It's national numbers. Remember that. There are those worried that all this positive talk resembles what was being said in 2004 and 2005. Jonathan Smoke, chief economist at Realtor.com, explains the difference very simply but effectively. The havoc during the last cycle was a result of building too many homes and of speculation fueled by loose credit. That's the exact opposite of what we have today. Think about that concept. We are not in a very, very easy. You can get loans. They're there for those that qualify, those that have the documentation that is needed. So the idea of getting a loan, that's not the problem. But you do have to qualify. So if you don't qualify, then that's a whole different conversation, and we have to chat about that and get you qualified, realize and develop a game plan. Sometimes that's the biggest issue right there, is just developing a game plan and understanding what your needs are, what your unique family situation is. And if you give us a call at 800-306-1990, we'd be happy to help you put together that game plan. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment, again, brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. So we're going to go back to answering your questions about credit. So we got to the first three of them. If you missed them, they are on the replays, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube or in the archives of Ron Siegel Radio. We talked about what's considered a good credit score. Most people do not have the accurate answer on that one, as done by various studies. Will paying off debt and closing credit cards help my score? We took care of that one. I've had my credit pulled several times while shopping for a loan. Will that hurt my score? Dealt with that one. Next up, what is the ideal debt ratio to get the best credit score? So we talked about this a little bit in the last segment. Credit utilization is a major, major factor in calculating your credit. It's about 30% of your score, 30%. It's the second largest factor in your score, next to only payment history. As a general rule, you're advised to keep all of your account balances and revolving debts at or below 30% of your available credit. That's just the start. Studies show that you'll want a credit utilization ratio of 10% or less to achieve a credit score in the high 700s or even 800. 10% or less. And remember, pay it the way I just shared with you in the last segment, right before the statement closing date. That's going to help you get to that 10% utilization or less. Number 5, what factors determine my credit score? So there's several factors that go into your credit score. 30%, we just talked about, that's utilization. 35% is payment history, making sure that you're paying your bills on time. My recommendation is if you are consistently making or using your credit cards, use them all the time, every month. You're always using your credit cards, and you're doing what I shared with you about paying right before the statement closing date. There is a possibility that a charge didn't get through completely from the time you checked your balance until the time you made that payment before the statement closing date. There's possibility the charge did not get posted until after you made that payment. Shouldn't be a lot, but it's possible. So here's what I recommend you doing. Look at your credit cards and what you spend on a regular basis. And when you go to do this, start the idea of paying before the statement closing date. Do a second thing. Look at what your minimum payment is before you start that process. So if you normally spend, say, $500 or $1,000 on your credit reports, on your credit cards, and it comes out that takes a $60 minimum payment, and whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. Go in and set up a monthly recurring payment from your bank to hit your credit card the day before the payment due date. Now, we're not talking about the statement due date that we talked about before. We're talking about the payment due date. It's only going to be a couple of weeks spread between you're going to be doing that payment due date and when you're going to be making your next payment anyway. So make that in there so you don't have to worry about ever being late on your credit, because remember, 30% is credit utilization, 35% is payment history. That's 65% of your credit score right there. 10% comes from a mix of credit. That would be revolving accounts, mortgage debt, installment debt. Installment debt is like your car payments or other student loan payments, things like that have a fixed payment and a fixed amount of time. Ideally, 1 mortgage, 2 installment, 3 revolving. That's kind of the idea right there. 10% of your score is new credit. Opening new accounts and new accounts deemed risky can lower your credit score. That's the inquiries that we talked about earlier. 15% of your credit comes from credit history. This is how long you've been showing a positive payment history. How long has that been happening? So that's where that one comes into play, is how old is your credit? See a lot of errors on credit reports because you've had a credit card for 6, 7, 8 years, and under the months watched or months reviewed, they call it on there, they show 47. Well, obviously, if you've had a credit card for 6 years, that's more than 47 months. They should be reporting that properly. That would be helping your credit score because that accounts for 15% of your credit score right there is credit history. Give you an idea. That's the idea of where your credit score is coming from. Number 6, how will a late payment hurt my credit score? Obviously, we just talked about late payments account for 35% of your score, so it can be pretty significant. I've seen it where a single late payment can drop a score 80 to 100 points. Not abnormal. You want to stay away from the 30-day late is going to be bad. 60 is worse. 90 is really going to cause a lot of damage to your score. And if you're talking about mortgages, the 30s and 60s will sometimes knock you out of being able to get a mortgage altogether. So think about that one as well. Number 7, if I'm married or a co-signer on a loan and the other person defaults, yikes. That's not a positive issue. If you're married or a co-signer, generally that's going to count on your score just as much as theirs. So if they're late on a payment, it's going to go right back up to where we talked about. What is the payment history? We talked about that, 35%. So make sure that you're watching that. Whoever you're co-signing for, they need to be making those payments on time, or else you could be hurting your FICO score just by doing that one little issue right there is the problem. Number 8, what does FICO mean? We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. People sometimes get confused as to the different entities that are involved with your credit reporting and scoring. So let's clear that one up for you. FICO is the Fair Isaac Corporation. They're the main credit reporting company, but 3 credit bureaus collect your data, and then report it to FICO. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. There is no credit score stored for you. I'll repeat that. There's no credit score stored for you. The credit score is driven the instant somebody goes to pull your credit with your approval, or without your approval, actually, if they steal your identity or whatnot. So the minute somebody goes to pull your credit, that's when the data goes through the algorithm and your credit score is popped out. So ordering credit right now, and if you go to somebody an hour from now, they could both get different credit scores. That can happen very, very simply. We'll talk about more when we come back. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, California to launch retirement accounts for workers without pensions. Why would they do that? They want to continue that ruse of taking more of your money. Obviously, we'll talk about that when we get back. We'll continue our discussion on credit scoring. Might even chat, if we have a little bit of time, about what that Freddie Mac rate means to you, the Freddie Mac report that just came out this morning on mortgage rates. Remember to reach us anytime. Call our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Connect with us, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. On Twitter, @Ron Siegel. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1, Ron Siegel the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
In the middle of a street, a house.
Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Isn't it time you found out the truth about FHA-insured home equity conversion? No, it's not your grandfather's reverse mortgage. This just may be the finest financial planning strategy available for all homeowners of retirement age. Helping protect what you've earned is the job of your board of directors with continued education. Major research has shown that using a HECM will significantly enhance the success rate of a retiree's portfolio and legacy. Please allow us to educate. For your complimentary consultation, call Jay Kaplan at 949-300-3855. That's 949-300-3855.
Are you currently renting a home? Do you like paying someone else's mortgage payment? Why not explore the options to purchase your own home? Can you imagine a 30-year fixed-rate loan below 4.25% APR? This means with $10,500, you can purchase a $295,000 home and have a principal and interest payment of about $1,400 per month. What are you paying in rent? Does your family deserve the opportunity to take advantage of the current market? To learn more about these exciting opportunities, the Siegel Lending Team is standing by to speak with you. Call now, 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Or 1-800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal housing lender. Not endorsed or sponsored by any government agency.
Do you have a goal of mortgage-free home ownership? What if your home was valued at $500,000? Are you aware that a free and clear home could be costing you $2,500 every month, $30,000 per year? The mortgage planners at the Siegel Lending Team would like to show you how you can own your home, generate tax-free income, and accumulate family wealth. You simply need to call the Ron Siegel Team at 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990. By sending the team a copy of your most recent mortgage statement, the team will send you a no-obligation real estate plan. You be the judge if this is right for your family. Again, all you have to do is send the team a copy of your mortgage statement by email to reap@ronsiegelradio.com or call today. Ron Siegel, 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990.
Rate subject to change and without notice. Licensed by the California DOC and BRENMLS 217037 and 145502 and Cal BRE 01869452 and 1866775.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and as your consumer advocate, I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990. The Word on Wealth segment today being brought to you by our friends at Gold Star Mortgage. They have the programs, the products available, ready for you. just give them a call, 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with the right folks there to see if we can help you get the right programs, right products. Again, we saw this morning that 3.46 30-day rate on the Freddie Mac mortgage market program. Again, that's with I think it's the Freddie Mac mortgage market survey shows that with a 0.6 points. Got to understand points. In some instances, points are very, very beneficial for you. If you're planning on paying off a mortgage and you've got a bunch of equity, you're going to be in the mortgage long term, there is benefit to going ahead and paying the points on the mortgage just because you're going to get a lower rate. Now, your payoff period, you got to calculate that out and just be sure that you're going to be there that amount of time, because that's the key part of that is, are you going to be there the amount of time that at the break-even point? So think about that, plan for it, understand what you're doing there, just the way it really works on those programs. Just a thought for you. Again, that is I guess we should talk about the product, the story here. California to launch retirement accounts. Think about that one. The state, you have to wonder. You have a state that's always in the red. They spend more money than they bring in. They miscalculate their budgets almost every year. And now they're going to deal with the fact that they've gotten rid of retirement accounts or gotten rid of the pensions for the state employees, and they want to put them into 401ks, another product that's probably not in the best interest of most people. Now, there are certain times that an IRA or a 401k is good. The times that those are really beneficial for somebody is really when they are blank mind. Holy cow! The time that they're good is when you've got matching funds. You want to deposit into your 401k only to the extent that your employer matches. If your employer doesn't match, why would you put money into a 401k that's going to limit what you can do with your money? So the state is looking, and they know that they've got significant amounts of unfunded pension liabilities already. Now they want to take and put people's money into another process, another program that they don't have the money for. Figure that out. And then they're going to use that money for things and borrow against it. And does that sound like Social Security, where you put your money in, they told you it's going to continue to grow, you're going to get your money back, and they use it for something else? Do you remember listening to Al Manfrey when he was on yesterday, Heritage Financial Services? And we were talking about the idea of some insurance-based programs that he has that are getting 6 to 8% return over the last 30 years. Insurance-based. Who owns the biggest buildings in every city? Well, the top 3 of every major city owning the biggest buildings: United States government, Catholic Church, and insurance companies. The reason they own that is because they make a lot of money. They're willing for a small fee to invest your money for you. Think about that. So if you've got a business, if you own a business, and you can have the business buying one of these insurance products for you or for your employees, it becomes a tax deduction for the business. That sounds almost like the 401k or the IRA, doesn't it? Yeah. Put the money into that insurance vehicle, it's going to grow. And instead of taking a lump sum out of there, you borrow against it. Borrowing against the insurance vehicle is not a taxable event. So you don't have to pay taxes when the money comes out. And then you've got a death benefit to repay the loan. So the bottom line is you win. You don't have the money goes in tax advantaged. It grows tax advantaged. It comes out tax advantaged, and it's paid back tax advantaged. Now think about the 401k or the IRA. It goes in tax deferred. And the minute you start taking it out, you have to pay taxes on it. Hopefully it's going to grow over the life of the time it's in the 401k or the IRA. So you get to pay more taxes later than you do today. Think about that concept. Does that make sense to you? Is that a good plan? If you want to minimize taxes, an IRA, a 401. I was talking after the broadcast yesterday to Al. He's talking about people with IRAs, they're cashing them out. Cashing out the IRA and putting them into some of these other vehicles so they get a better return. They get more money and they have access to the money. It's insured through the insurance companies, AAA rated insurance companies. We saw in 2008 the government doesn't let them go out of business. Now, there is more risk in that than there is in a government, 10-year treasury at 1.5 something percent. But think about that, 6 to 8% return. You can borrow at 3%. Why would you want to have home equity if you can make 5% on borrowed money? Just a concept there. That's the Word on Wealth segment, again, brought to you by Gold Star Mortgage. We're going to try and get through the rest of the top 10 questions about credit reporting. So we got through most of them. Number 9, if I had a bankruptcy, foreclosure, or a judgment against me, is my credit ruined for life? No. Since most delinquent items on your credit report only report for 7 years before falling off, there are a few exceptions. I'm going to share with you that in many, many instances, maybe even most instances, when one has a bankruptcy, their credit scores increase. Sounds counterintuitive. Well, here's why. The reason one might file bankruptcy is because they're past due or overextended on their debts. The bankruptcy wipes out the debts, wipes out the past dues. Remember, we talked about that. The payment history is 35% of your credit report, so those are wiped out. When those are wiped out, the credit report doesn't show the negatives that it had before the bankruptcy. So now all you're showing is a bankruptcy, obviously, and that's going to be reported as it's reported. But Chapter 7 bankruptcy remains for 10 years from the date filed. Chapter 13 remains for 7 years from the date discharged, or a maximum of 10 years. Student loans, those remain on the credit until they are paid. Foreclosures and short sales, those are going to probably report for a full 7 years. But again, the negative impact will diminish over time. And changes in the industry now make it possible for some people to buy another home in as little as, I've seen programs right out of foreclosure, right out of bankruptcy, you can buy a new home. There are programs out there that will allow for that. Do I have to pay to check my credit score? Well, the non-FICO scores, you can get those for free. In many instances, maybe even most instances, if you want a FICO score, you generally have to pay for that one. The Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act allows you to get a free copy of your credit report once each year from each of the 3 major bureaus. Just go to annualcreditreport.com. If you're turned down for credit based on a credit report item, you can get a copy of your credit report there as well. And as part of the process of what we're doing at Ron Siegel Radio, a lot of times if you want to get a mortgage review, we'll give you a copy of your credit report, a FICO report, totally free. Just get a mortgage review. All you have to do is send a copy of your most recent mortgage statement. We'll get a few pieces of information from you. Most of it's public information anyway. And you'll get a free copy of your credit report and your credit scores totally for free. Just the way things work on there. So that is the top 10 reasons or top 10 questions that come in talking about credit scores. If I didn't get to a question you have, just reach out to me, Ron at RonSiegelRadio.com. Always happy to chat with you, give you that information, share with you what I know, help you with a game plan to get your credit scores maximized as much as possible. It's just another benefit of being a Ron Siegel Radio listener, and that's why we ask you to set your first radio preset to come back here every day to join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Steve, who's engineering us today. And, of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to reach me anytime or to reach any of our guests, call me 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.